gotta say, they nearly had me with this one. Watching this, I thought we were gonna get a pretty meh Nintendo Direct, and in some ways we still did. But that final announcement just came out of nowhere. Hello and welcome back to the channel. So we just had the September Nintendo Direct, which is usually the sort of last big one of the year. We do occasionally get things like mini directs or indie directs towards the end of the year, but usually the actual properly titled Nintendo Directs are sort of wrapping up about now. And so that means that for me anyway, the most exciting announcements from Nintendo for this year are probably over and done with now. I don't think we'll get too much more exciting stuff being announced towards the end of the year. And so now I think there's a real conversation to be had about whether the Switch is starting to bow out. But we'll talk more about that later. First, I'm going to go into what was in the Direct itself. Now, despite what I just said, I actually thought that the Direct started off quite strong. I'm not the biggest Splatoon fan. I've played 2 and a bit of 3, not loads of it, but even I was quite interested in what they showed in this DLC, the fact that you can manage your stats, and it sort of brings like some kind of roguelike element maybe to the DLC. When they mentioned replayability as well, that kind of appeals to me, so even I was quite interested in that. And then Mario vs Donkey Kong, sure, it's a remake, but it's a remake of a series that I don't really think that many people will have actually played these days, especially the younger generations. Even I, who I'm a bit older than most gamers nowadays, I think, I've not really played Mario vs Donkey Kong. I just played a few levels emulated, so I'm quite excited to see this one coming back, and I think it looks pretty gorgeous actually with the new paint job. I think that one was rumoured to come. We sort of had an inkling that it was coming, but it was still really nice to see. And then after that we had the Prince of Persia game. Now, I've never really played any of the Prince of Persia games, but I actually think this one looks pretty good. It looks really slick, the combat looks really fun, I like the art style, it seems to have some cool ideas. I'm up for well-made 2D action platformy Metroid-y type games, so I'm hoping that this one will be pretty good. I think it'll be nice to be able to play it on the Switch as well. Then we get on to really what I think is a fair bit of filler with just a few interesting games sort of like sprinkled in the mix. And I don't know, you may think that I'm being overly harsh, but there was things like arcade racers, a console MOBA, and 2 rhythm games. I think if you've got 2 rhythm games in your Direct, then that kind of says a lot about how much stuff there actually is. Although the trombone game, I will say, I originally thought, what is this? Nobody's interested in this. And then when they showed 4-player co-op on that game, and you could just see everybody being bad at playing trombone, I actually thought, what, this could be like a proper laugh playing with friends. So maybe I've been swayed by that one a little bit, but it's still not exactly a highlight of the Direct. So some other stuff, they announced the Tomb Raider remasters, which I get the legacy, that's kind of cool, but I'm not too interested. My memories of Tomb Raider are basically just failing to get out of the first level on probably all of the games, so I'm not too excited for that one. And Contra as well, I've never played a Contra game, but I do know that it sort of has its following, so I'm sure a lot of people will be really excited for that one. And then Eiyuden Chronicles, I actually thought looked like it could be kind of an interesting game, but I don't know if it's just me, but the frame rate, even in the trailer, the frame rate of that game looked pretty off, so it doesn't give me much hope for it, to be honest. On to some positives though, I think. So Princess Peach Showtime, when they first showed this in the June Direct, I was not interested at all, but actually it does look kinda interesting. It looks very different, it looks very unique. It's hard to say if it'll be fun to play at the moment, but I'm really interested to see more of these transformations and sort of see what else is coming, and if they can show some actual gameplay, that would be really good, because it kind of seems like maybe the gameplay is going to change with each transformation, and so I feel like you might have some really fun ones, but maybe you'll have some gameplay styles that don't work so well. But I'm interested to see more of that. It would be great to see more down the line. Luigi's Mansion 2 I think will be a good addition to the Switch. I do think it's weird that they didn't do 1 first, or at least like a 1 and 2 bundle, because then you'd have all 3 of them on the Switch, and that just makes more sense to me. WarioWare, I've never actually played any WarioWare games at all, so let me know if I'm missing out. But I do know again that those games have their big core of fans, so I hope that if you like WarioWare, then you're excited for what you saw here. And then Dave the Diver as well. I've seen a lot of people rave about this on PC. A lot of people seem to like playing it a lot on Steam Deck, so the Nintendo Switch makes sense for that. I think it's going to be a great addition. Now, F-Zero 99 was not what I expected at all. I had heard the rumor of like an F-Zero remake or something like that, but I wasn't expecting it to be a 99 game, sort of like Tetris and the Mario one. Do you think that this is a good addition to the 99 style games? I've never really played an F-Zero game. I will give it a go, you know, since it's free. I've got my subscription going, but yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere for me, and let me know if you think that's a good one. I don't really know if any F-Zero fans watch my channel or not. If you've been watching my videos for a little while now, then you'll know I'm a big Mario Kart 8 fan, and so I was pretty excited to see details of the final wave. We did only see one track and then a lot of other characters as well, which is nice. I don't really switch character too much. I just play as Toad all the time. It used to be Yoshi, but my friend always takes Yoshi now, so now I play Toad. When that final wave does drop, I'm thinking about doing a big video talking about my favorite tracks from the entire DLC, so look out for that one. And then really there wasn't too much more after that. They did go back over some previous announcements, things that we already knew were coming. I knew that there would be a one more thing type of announcement, but I was quite worried actually that we would go through an entire Nintendo Direct without there being a new game announced that I was, you know, quite excited for, because up to this point really there was nothing that properly caught my eye. And of course it was Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I wasn't expecting this at all, like not one bit. I kind of thought if they ever brought Paper Mario Thousand Year Door onto the Switch, it would be through the sort of backwards emulation. You know, if they eventually got to GameCube on the Nintendo Switch Online service. I never ever would have guessed that they would do a remake of this game. You know, there's a lot of controversy around Paper Mario, people saying that the old ones are much better, you know, with the full RPG mechanics. And I've always wanted to try Thousand Year Door. I've never actually had a GameCube, and I always wondered what it was that I was missing, because people say Thousand Year Door is the best one. And I have played Origami King and a couple of the other Paper Marios, but I never ended up going back to what is supposed to be the best one. And so I'm pretty excited, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to when that comes out. It just says 2024 at the moment, so I hope it's sort of earlier 2024 and there's not too long to wait for that one. Now, towards the start of the video, I mentioned that I thought there was an argument to be made that we were sort of starting to see the end of the Switch's life cycle. So personally, my feelings on this Direct are that it was pretty mixed. You know, it wasn't amazing. It didn't blow anybody out of the water, I don't think. Maybe if you're a huge Paper Mario fan, Arlo, if you watch Arlo's videos, then I'm sure will be very excited. But for most people anyway, I think it was just kind of meh. There was a lot of filler and some highlights. The thing is though that most of the Nintendo announcements recently have been remakes, and you start to see towards the end of a console's life more and more remakes come about. You know, it makes perfect sense. You've got developers working on new games for the new system, but you can't announce those yet. But you still have to put something out there for, you know, the first console, in this case the Switch, and remakes are cheaper and easier and much less resource intensive to make. So it does make sense why you get some more remakes towards the end of a console's life. Now, I had a quick think and a quick look back at what has currently been announced to come out on the Switch, which is a first-party game, you know, made by Nintendo. And we've got Detective Pikachu Returns, Super Mario Wonder, WarioWare Move It, Super Mario RPG, Princess Peach Showtime, Mario vs Donkey Kong, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Now, I didn't include Metroid Prime 4 because of all of those games that I just listed, Metroid Prime 4 is the only one that we haven't actually seen any gameplay footage for, so I don't really think you can argue it's going to come out anytime soon. But if you think back on the list of the games that I did just say, half of those are remakes, you know, a full half of those games are remakes by Nintendo. Just before the June Nintendo Direct, I was starting to wonder the same thing, you know, if we were starting to see the end of the Switch's life cycle. But at that point, we did then get a couple of brand new announcements from Nintendo. You know, we got, I think, WarioWare, that was first announced then, and of course we got Super Mario Wonder, which everybody is really excited about, and I think it's going to be a really good game, and of course it's brand new. And so at that point I kind of thought, well, do you know what, maybe the Switch does have a fair bit longer to go if they're still making brand new games for it. In this Direct though, there wasn't a single new announced game by Nintendo that wasn't a remake. No brand new games announced at all. And sure, I am pretty excited for at least some of these remakes, you know, Thousand Year Door especially, but that doesn't change the fact that they didn't announce any brand new games for the Switch this time. Look, nobody knows what's coming except for Nintendo, of course, but it just feels like this Direct lends a bit more credibility to those rumors that say that there's going to be a Switch successor in 2024 next year. I think it makes sense. No brand new games from Nintendo announced this time, and a lot of remakes in the works. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. What were your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct? Did you think it was really good, or did you think it was a bit mediocre? What were your favorite announcements from this one? And do you think that the Nintendo Switch still has plenty of time ahead, or like me, do you think that this might be a sign that we are starting to see the Switch bow out and make way for the next generation of Nintendo console? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.